I'm going to give you the secret to having a long, passionate relationship with your partner, one that's not filled with doubt and insecurities, whether your partner is going to be cheating on you or not. Welcome to my channel. My name is Rebecca P. Fox. I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm going to talk you through today the secret that keeps my couples in long-term relationships. Because what tends to happen with relationships right at the very beginning is there's that honeymoon period where we devote a lot of time and a lot of attention into that partner because it's new and it's exciting and we want to make a good impression, right? And of course, once we get into that place of consistency, work, routine, everything kind of gets left to the side, and that prioritizing of the relationship seems to become not as important anymore because there's other things that are taking priority. Now, what I'm about to share with you also applies if you have children with your partner. If you're someone that's thinking, we've lost everything since we had kids, this has been very difficult, this applies to you as well, and this will help with your relationship. Now, the thing that I'm talking about here is communication. Couples stop communicating once they get to a certain point in their relationship. And it's not through lack of trying. This is just something that kind of seems to fizzle out when other things seem to be more important than the relationship itself. Now, I'm going to take you through a 5-step process on how to keep that passion, that romance, and that connection very much alive in your relationship. So let's look at stage 1. Now, stage 1 is active listening. Now, when we talk about active listening, we're talking about actually hearing what the partner is trying to say to you. Because remember, when we get into that swing of how the relationship is going, we stop actually hearing the person and paying attention so much because we kind of know what's coming and we kind of think we know what the answer is going to be, so we just listen with one ear open, shall I say. And what this does, this creates more of a disconnect. So active listening involves you actually stopping, devoting all your attention to what your partner is saying, listening to it, maybe even repeating it back, and then taking your time to answer in a way that gets a resolve. Number two is all about I statements. Now, I statements are incredibly powerful at changing the dynamics in a relationship. And once you've got that active listening skill down and you're kind of practicing it and you're getting there with that, we can introduce the I statements as a way to really communicate clearly how we feel and exactly what is going on in our lives. Because what tends to happen when we get into that disconnected communication phase, we tend to just say statements rather than questions. So for instance, you're not listening to me today. The partner replies, well, that's because you're saying the same things all the time. Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you something and you're not listening. Sound familiar? Now that isn't going to get a resolve because you're just repeating back. When we put an I statement into this scenario, it completely changes the dynamic and it gets you a clear resolve on the issue at hand. For instance, let's say you feel like your partner never listens to you. You would go in with this statement. You know, I feel like you don't listen to me. And when you don't listen to me, it makes me feel very anxious and very sad. So now you're adding emotion to this. You guys connected in the early stages of your relationship based off an emotional connection. So let's get that back by using these I statements. Now, when you relay something like that to your partner, it completely changes the area of the brain that switches on to give you a response. And your partner is more likely to listen to you and want to understand why you feel that way. So if you've expressed that you feel like they're not listening and it makes you feel anxious, your partner is likely to respond asking, but why do you feel anxious? Because I am listening to you. And then that gives you an opportunity to express what you're trying to get through to him or her in terms of communication and how they're responding, which makes you think they're not listening and makes you feel anxious and sad as a result of that. That way, your partner can be aware of that and change their behavior the next time that you're trying to express how you feel or what is going on with you. So I statements are very powerful once you've nailed active listening. Number 3, this is one of my all-time favorites, and this is one of my clients' favorites as well, and that is role play. Role play is incredibly important in relationships. And no, I'm not just referring to role play in the bedroom. This kind of role play, you keep your clothes on. All right. So Role play gives you an opportunity to put forward certain scenarios that have happened, that have made you feel uncomfortable, that have made you feel like you've disconnected even further, that have left you in a mood that feels like you don't want to be with your partner, or you've backed away or pulled away even further. So this is incredibly powerful. And again, we use that role play with active listening and I statements. Bringing that scenario into play, you role play it out and you let your partner know this is what's going on. Okay, so that gives them an opportunity to get back in the room and understand this is something that we're trying to get a resolve here. Role play is very powerful when it comes to getting results. Number 4, we want to look at now collaborative problem solving. When we're in a relationship that's busy and we're working and we have children and there's lots going on, we disconnect in terms of making decisions together, but not only decisions, but also problems that have arisen. It almost becomes that's your problem, you deal with it. This is my problem, I'll deal with it. And that creates, again, even more of a disconnect, because when you're in a relationship, ultimately, what you're looking for is a partnership. And for that partnership to really come together, you need to build the trust and the communication. So when problems arise with yourself or the relationship or the children or at work, sharing this with your partner to get their input and try and get a resolve on the problem is really powerful when it comes to building that trust back up and also creating a deeper connection. So the next time that you find yourself struggling with a problem, I want you to raise it with your partner. Bring in active listening, bring in the I statements of how that problem's making you feel, and let your partner help you get a resolve on that. Now, number 5, I know that number 5 is my client's all-time favorite, and that is non-verbal communication. People think when you communicate, it's all about the words that are spoken, and yes, this is a small element to it, but also when we bring the non-verbal elements into it, this just creates a completely different dynamic, and again, allows you to connect on a deeper level, because what tends to happen in relationships that have become very stale. So once you get into that routine and that passion, that romance has kind of been lost, we also lose the touch element in a relationship. And touch is incredibly powerful at creating connections and keeping that relationship very much alive. So I encourage communication without using words. So using touch as an example, using hand gestures, using facial gestures. These are all ways that enable you to create more of a connection. And look, it's fun. When you bring those facial elements into this gets very fun, very exciting, and it brings the humor back into the relationship. So nonverbal communication is a lot of fun, and it's incredibly important in rebuilding that connection and that relationship. So look, if you found this helpful, please give me a subscribe, hit my like button, and if you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them. So hit me up in the comments and I will do a video based off any of your comments or questions that you have to help you with your relationship right now.